Passed me by one summer day, flashed those big brown eyes my way, and oh, I wanted you forevermore. Now, baby, I'm not one that gets around, swear my feet stuck to the ground, and though I never did meet you before, I said, hello, Mary Lou, goodbye, heart, I said, sweet Mary Lou, I'm so in love with you. I'm in love with Mary. I knew, Mary Lou, that we'd never part. So hello, Mary Lou, goodbye, heart. Saw your lips, I heard your voice. Believe me, I just had no choice. My horses grew to make me stay away. Thought about a moonlit night, arms around you, good and tight. That's all I need to see for me to stay. Hey, hello, Mary Lou, goodbye, heart. Sweet Mary Lou, I'm so in love with you. I'm in love with Mary. I knew, Mary Lou, we'd never part. So hello, Mary Lou, goodbye, heart. Hello, Mary Lou, I'm in love with you, yes. Hello, Mary Lou, goodbye, heart. I said hello, Mary Lou, goodbye, heart. If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and you can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget those who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Ooh. From the lakes of Minnesota, the hills of Tennessee, across the Texas to the shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, hey, hey. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget those who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. My name is Rick Lawrence. I'm the Vice President of Naperville Responds For Veterans and also an Air Force veteran. So at this time, if you are able, please stand and bring the colors in.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming.
folks. Thank you for coming today. If this is your first time, welcome. If this is your returning visit to us for the luncheon, welcome again. Right now, we're going to recognize the different services. So if you served in those services and you're able to stand up, please stand up. The gentlemen are going to do their songs. For the Coast Guard. Is there any Coast Guard?
From the rising of the sun till the battle's fought and won, we will fight for the right and defend our country. We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, I shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our pledge, our motto too. We're always ready, do or die. I, Coast Guard, we fight for you. From the halls of Montezuma,
Marines.
the shores of Tripoli, we'll fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine. Anchors away, my boy. Anchors away. Farewell to college joys. We sail at break of day. To our last night on shore, drink to the foam. Until we meet once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the
Army.
Eagles rolling along, proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the Army goes rolling along. Then it's high, high, hey, the Army's on its way. Count out the cadence loud and strong, for wherever we go, you will always know that the Army goes rolling along. Off we go,
Air Force.
to the wild blue yonder, climbing high in the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Attaboy, give her the gun, give her the gun. Down we dive, spouting our flames from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame, or go down in flames. Ain't nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. And those are the great armed forces of America. They serve America at home or overseas. They serve America.
All right, now I have the pleasure to introduce the past president. I think everybody in this room knows him. He's the original cheerleader for Naperville Responds For Veterans, Mr. Pat Bowler.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'd like to bring up Father Brad Baker to do the invocation, please.
Gracious and faithful God, we read in sacred scripture that there is no greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. We gather this day to honor those to whom honor is due. We celebrate and honor America's veterans and our Naperville area veterans for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. The freedoms we know are a debt none of us can ever repay. May every veteran, man and woman, young and old, feel the deep and enduring gratitude of our community and nation. We call to prayer, too, the tens of thousands of brave sons and daughters, husbands and wives, who are currently serving in the armed forces. May you shield them from harm and bring them safely home. And we implore you, dear God, with our prayers for peace for our nation and for all peoples of the world. And finally, loving God, may you grace our fellowship and bless this meal we are about to share and the hands that prepare and serve this food to us. And may we continue to remember all who hunger and are in need and do our part to see their needs be satisfied. Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Father. Wow. We started this thing 14 years ago, and look at it today. I knew it would continue to do great things for veterans. We certainly have come a long way. I am the proud son of a World War II Navy sailor and the proud father of a Marine. So very humbling just to be that way. I need to recognize some of the people that are here today. Certainly, Dan will go over our sponsorship and stuff, but do we have any people that are currently serving in the armed services right now? Please stand. I want to see you. There you go. Thank you. They are currently serving. There they are back there. That's huge. Thank you. Do we have any elected officials here? They serve also. Do we have any of our Naperville? No. Okay. How about any Gold Stars families? Thank you. How about our first responders that are here? I saw them. Stand up. Get recognized. Absolutely. Now, this doesn't happen by itself. I mean, we are an organization of 100% volunteers. Nobody gets paid to put all this stuff together. We've got a lot of moving parts. We're fixing homes and doing a lot for veterans. And by the way, I certainly appreciate seeing all you veterans here, which is totally awesome. The fact of the matter is we've had a lot of people that have been serving for a long time. At this time, I would like to recognize our honorary board members, our board members, and all of our volunteers year after year that put the stuff together. Please stand up. Our board members. Come on. Dan, there they are. They're all over. There they are back there. Thank you. Thank you. And we also knew that we couldn't really reach out too far. And one of our board members says, hey, listen, we can start something up in Lake County, which they did. Is our Lake County responders here? Lake County for veterans? None of them are here? But anyways, they're doing great up there too. So I just want to say it's a very humbling experience to be part of this organization. Thank you all for your continued support, all of our sponsors. I see you year after year after year. And I got to tell you, it's an unbelievable organization to be part of. If you want to join in, we'd love to have you. Thank you very much, and have a great lunch. Appreciate it. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Jack Person, our immediate past president.
Good afternoon. Welcome veterans, welcome guests of veterans, and everyone that supports Naperville Responds. A quote from John F. Kennedy in 1963. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget the highest appreciation is not utter words, but to live by them. John F. Kennedy. Hence, the gathering of veterans today, Friends of Veterans, is our way to say thank you for your service in protecting our flag and our country. I'm proud that so many people are here. In particular, I'm proud of our youth of today. We hear not all the positives when it comes to what our youth are up to, but we have a young citizen that I met last November 11th. I attended a school assembly, and during that school assembly there was speeches by, I believe, 6 students. One individual kind of stood out to me, and I asked him if he would attend our event today, and he brought his family, mom and dad and his sister Julia, and very, very nice. The significance of that day last November 11th was that was Veterans Day, and they had a school assembly honoring veterans in the area, so it was quite moving. The individual that we have here with us today, his name is Victor DeGroot. He's a 7th grader. Yes, a 7th grader is going to get up in front of you all and say his speech that he prepared last year. This individual is a member of the National Honor Society. He's a Lego master. He's a black belt in special arts. He is also an altar boy. He plans in his forecast of 7th grade, looking into the future of 8th, 9th grade, possibly going to Marmion School and joining their junior ROTC program. So we thank you for that. I could go on about Victor, this 13-year-old young man, but I'd like to have him come up here and bring his words with him. Thank you, Victor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. My pledge to our veterans. For myself, the word veteran means more than someone who previously served in the military. To me, it means someone who has bravely protected, fought, and served for our country. In today's times, this may not always be acknowledged. However, veterans have done a great deal for our country, giving up their time, leaving their families, and choosing a very isolated and dangerous life. In fact, I consider that medals, their economic wages, and healthcare programs are inadequate. According to the transitionhouse.org, veterans compared to civilians have a 5 times higher chance of dealing with depression and a 15 times higher chance of having PTSD than the average citizen. Since so many of them deal with these problems, I pledge to keep them in my daily prayers for mental strength and encouragement. Our veterans mean a lot to us and deserve to be recognized for their work, actions, and courage that they have brought forth to our country. With this, I pledge to write letters of thanks to our veterans for what they did for us. We should remind ourselves every day how fortunate we are to live in a nation that is indivisible with liberty and justice for all. I would like not only to recognize the men, but also the women who served our nation. They helped as nurses, doctors, and ammunition makers. What they did for us should be appreciated and honored because not only were women working, but while their husbands were away, they had to fend for themselves and take care of their children and households. Through the sacrifice of women, our nation continued to go forward because of their hard work, commitment, and bravery to our country. Due to their hard work, I pledge to donate as many clothes, books, and supplies to nonprofit organizations such as the Salvation Army to help support the veterans and their families that went through these times. If I am able to be in the position to help our veterans in any way, I would do it with pride and honor. For what they did for our country means a lot to me because I am able to say that I am safe and able to have freedom. Therefore, my pledge to our veterans is that they should be honored, respected, taken care of for what they did then and now, for our country, for coming generations, and for our future. Thank you.
Dan, would you please come forward? On behalf of Naperville Responds, we thank you, Victor, for your speech today. We want to acknowledge you with a certificate from Dan Jurjevic, our president.
That's a tough act to follow there, folks. I don't know how well we can do it. We did want to present this Certificate of Excellence from Naperville Responds for Veterans to Victor DeGroot for not only his outstanding words, but just his general mentality. He does definitely give us a great deal of confidence for young people moving forward. You're a great leader, Victor. Keep up the great work.
I will do that. Let me go through this. I also want to acknowledge a supporter of Naperville Responds for Veterans, who in many ways has helped our organization beyond words. From Father Dan Bachner, who is the pastor at St. Rayfield's, to the St. Rayfield School, they've been supporters of Naperville Responds. They are cheerleaders for us. They're advocates. Their tithings help us. They have helped many, many veterans in the past. On behalf of Naperville Responds, we'd like to bring Mr. Parad to the podium. Mr. Parad is the assistant principal at St. Rayfield's. And we have a placard here that, I can read that. To St. Rayfield School and Church by Naperville Responds for Veterans for your loving and generous support to our United States Armed Forces and Veterans. We'd like to present this to you today, Mr. Parad.
Well, they have such a nice
We hope you can find a place in the hallway for that, for the students can understand what we're about and know that we thank them. With that, I'd like to introduce our president, our continuous running president, Mr. Dan Jurjevic.
Thank you, Jack. Good afternoon. On behalf of Naperville Responds for Veterans, our board of directors, honorary board members, and volunteers, I'd like to welcome you to our 12th annual Strength and Honor Luncheon. Today is so important to our mission at Naperville Responds for Veterans. It allows us to reflect on another year of tremendous accomplishment, share news about initiatives, partnerships, and projects that are coming up, and most importantly, spend a little bit of time with hundreds of local veterans. These men and women represent our organization's passion, which is service above self. Today allows us an opportunity to fulfill the most basic and essential part of our mission, which is to simply say thank you for your service. I also know that we have several law enforcement professionals and first responders in the building, and we also thank you for your service. Our construction and veterans committees continue to amaze me with their hard work and dedication to serving our mission. This past year, Naperville Responds for Veterans completed over 30 projects for veterans in need with just under $200,000 of financial resources. The actual retail cost of the work that these men and women complete would be exponentially greater were it not for the tremendous discounts and donations provided by our volunteers and our partners in support. We thank each and every one of you for being a part of what we do to help veterans in need. Naperville Responds for Veterans looks forward to another year of partnership with our Salute event, and I know that we've got the Salute leadership in the building today. Looking forward to another great 4th of July celebration in downtown Naperville. I would encourage each and every one of our veterans in attendance today to please save the date, June 30th to July 3rd, to come and join us on Rotary Hill. You are always welcome, complimentary, and we have complimentary accommodations and refreshment for you. This celebration of Independence Day is truly about the men and women that provide that freedom. We're also looking forward to our continued support and advocacy for the David R. Metcalf Invisible Wounds Foundation, which has done incredible work in addressing traumatic brain injury and veteran suicide awareness. Over the brief 2 years that this organization has been in existence,
Jamie Metcalf is our board member, and she's an integral part of our event today. I'd like to thank Jamie and her mother for providing the beautiful corsages that all of our veterans are wearing today. Thank you, Jamie. Towards the end of the program, we'll have one more exciting announcement to impart on you. Our friend Lou Breeze will come up and tell us about some exciting news that will take place around Memorial Day. So stay tuned for that. Today we're honored to have retired Army First Sergeant Matthew Eversmann here as our featured speaker. He's going to have a tremendous message and story for us. And before I yield the mic and let you guys get to your lunch, I would like to say thank you to one more special guest who is in fact working at all of our events all the time, and that's Jim Hoke over here front. He's actually not taking pictures for a minute. Jim is always in a volunteer capacity providing excellent photography for all of our events. He's one of the most patriotic individuals you can ever meet. And this year he was recognized by our local American Legion as the Citizen of the Year. So congratulations, Jim. At this time, it's my privilege to introduce Naperville Responds For Veterans' very own honorary board member and Army veteran, Mike Barber, for our POW table presentation. Mike.
You may have noticed the small table set in a place of honor. It is set for one. This table is our way of recognizing those who are missing from our midst. They are commonly called POWs or MIAs. We call them brothers. They are unable to be here with us, so we remember them. This table set for one is small. It symbolizes the frailty of one prisoner against his oppressors. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. The single rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep faith, awaiting their return. The yellow ribbon tied so prominently on the vase is reminiscent of the yellow ribbon worn by the thousands who bear witness to their unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting for our missing. A slice of lemon is on the plate to remind us of their bitter fate. There is salt upon the plate, symbolic of the family tears as they wait. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us today. The chair is empty. They are not here. Remember, all of you who served with them and called them comrades, you who depended on their might and aid and relied upon them, do not forsake them. Pray for them and remember them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Folks, enjoy your lunch. We'll be back with you in a little while with our featured speaker. Thank you. I was also remiss earlier in not recognizing some special guests that we have here. I know we have a few World War II veterans with us today. If you are able, please stand to be recognized, our World War II guys. At this time, it's my honor to introduce our featured speaker, retired Army First Sergeant Matt Eversmann. Matt enlisted as an Army infantryman in 1987 and later re-enlisted in 1992, where he was assigned to the 3rd Battalion, 3rd Ranger Regiment, where he served for 8.5 years. For his service, Matt was awarded the Bronze Star Medal with Valor Device and the Combat Infantryman's Badge. Matt's last military assignment was in Iraq, where he and his men spent 15 months fighting Al-Qaeda. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce Mr. Matt Eversmann.
It's a tough one. Hey, thank you all very much. And between the bagpipers and Victor, I think we've probably seen all we need to see and all we need to hear for this event today. But again, what an impressive young man. And the future is bright with guys like Victor. And St. Michael will protect you. Folks, it's a pleasure to be here. And please go ahead and keep eating your lunch and enjoy your chow. And try and kind of keep this short and to the point. You know, it's one of these things I find myself having to remind audiences as well as myself that, you know, we still are a nation at war. You know, and right now it is almost 8 p.m. in Poland and almost 9 o'clock in the Ukraine and Syria and the Horn of Africa. And as we are sitting here today, enjoying our time together and celebrating this Strength and Honor Luncheon and what we're doing for our wonderful veterans, we've got very stout, tough young men and women who are out chasing down, hunting down very evil people who crash planes into buildings, into towers, and they do it relentlessly, just as we all did once upon a time. And I just say that to remind each other while we're celebrating our time together and enjoying our company in this lovely hall, in this great city, in this wonderful country. We didn't get here easily. And it was all on the backs of these great sons and daughters and brothers and sisters and moms and dads and children of ours who have, you know, stormed beaches and done amazing things for this wonderful country. So just one more time to all of you and for all the veterans and the families of veterans and everybody that has sacrificed for the good of this great country, I just say God bless you all and thank you for having me here today. So I give you a thanks from me. I get asked an awful lot about this movie, Black Hawk Down, and the experiences in Mogadishu almost 30 years ago this October, which is hard to imagine. My first deployment to combat, and you know, when you have nothing to compare it to, you know, it's all a great big eyes wide open kind of experience. And you know, after this battle on October 3rd, 1993 with Task Force Ranger, this gentleman, this author, Mark Bowden, wrote a book called Black Hawk Down about the story. And if you haven't read the book, I would just tell you, you should read it. It's a pretty easy to read, easy to follow story of this battle, this 19-hour gunfight that took place. And, you know, even if you don't know anything about the military, you could read it and understand it. And lo and behold, that book was turned into a movie by Jerry Bruckheimer, the Hollywood producer, the Top Gun guy. And the movie came out in 2001. And it's a pretty good, sort of cut to the chase here, it's a pretty good depiction of what the battle on October 3rd, 1993 was about. You know, you see how violent combat is and what the urban battle's like, how frenetic the pace of it is. You see the, you know, lawlessness of the enemy, the savage militias that we fight, all of that stuff. You get a pretty good visual. And I've said to people a million times, you know, if you want to know what urban battle is like, you know, watch that movie, Black Hawk Down, and you'll have a pretty good, you know, feel for it. But personally, character notwithstanding, and I say character, I'm talking about being a character in this movie or portrayed in this movie, I think they did a couple of things really, really well with this movie, Black Hawk Down. And that's kind of what I want to share with you today. These values that I like to think they did it on purpose, but I don't know, maybe it was just happenstance, but these values that they showcased in this movie that we can all watch and appreciate and say, yeah, they got it right. And the first value that I think they showed very, very well in this movie is this idea of selfless service. And we talked about it earlier today, selfless service, putting the needs of others first. For me, that idea of selfless service started the night before we deployed to Mogadishu. We were all in isolation at the Delta Force compound at Fort Bragg. And, some of you all will remember maybe that night before deployment, and there's this big unknown future ahead of us. And, if you've never been to battle, you don't know what to expect. And certainly for me, that was, all the I want to be a tough guy airborne ranger went out the window, and I found myself a little concerned about what was going to happen next. And I was never forget, I'm walking along in the Delta compound, and there's this big window that looks out over their memorial courtyard. And the memorial that's there, it's probably, twice the size of the risers behind me. And it's this beautiful white marble wall. You've seen a million of them. I mean, brilliant, white, shiny, just amazing. And the flag is posted at half staff, and the lights are shining on it, and the grass is cut like a putting green. I mean, it's brilliant. And I'm looking at all the names of the soldiers, these operators that have been killed in training and combat, and you're just kind of looking through the names of them all, just remembering something, people you heard of. And I'll never forget, in the middle of this monument, folks, there was a verse of scripture chiseled in, dead center. And it's from the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, verse 8. And I'd never seen this verse before, but, have remembered it every day since. This scripture says, "And then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, 'Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?' And I said, 'Here am I, Lord, send me.'" I remember, I'm a 26-year-old knucklehead getting ready to go to the show, and I saw that, and it hit me, like a sledgehammer. I mean, that's the greatest definition of selfless service I'd ever heard. This isn't about you want to be a tough guy ranger. This is about putting the needs of others first. Your ranger buddy on your left and your right, your fire team, your squad, your company, your country, the mission, that all comes first, and we, are somewhere deep in the rearview mirror. I mean, that's what I went to Somalia thinking about. And so in true life, here we are, on October 3rd, 1993, and you get to see this in the movie. We're going to launch on this raid, and we're going to go capture or kill this warlord and his henchmen. And I happen to be in charge of one of the helicopters going in. And as luck would have it, or more like Murphy's Law would have it, as we go in on the approach to our insertion point, our helicopter, the last one going in, winds up stopping short of our insertion point because on this day in this particular neighborhood, all the sand and debris and all the junk on the ground with all the helicopters blowing in, the rotor wash pushed everything skyward. And so all of a sudden, here we are, the last guy in the order of movement, and we can't see anything. The pilot says over the head, says, "I can't see anything." And true, you're in a sandstorm. Like, this ain't good, on short final, like that you can't see anything. And so the pilot says, we're going to go in right here. So, all right, you all know this, it happens, just deal with it, off we go. And so the ropes get thrown, we start sliding down the ropes, 14 kids, young men, these young rangers go in, and I'm the last one coming in onto the target, or off spot. And as I'm coming down the rope, last guy going in, I'm holding on to this big fast rope, sliding down it, and I'm looking at the bottom of the rope on the ground is one of my soldiers. And he's lying there, and he's all bent out of shape. He looks like a crime scene line like you see on TV. And I'm thinking, my gosh, we're already in a firefight, and I'm not even there yet, and I'm in charge. So I get to the bottom of the rope, take off my gloves, and look, and there's this young ranger, and he's just bleeding all over the place. I mean, it's absolutely horrible what this kid looks like. I'm sure, surely he's dead. The young Rangers are working on him. They're doing their thing, and I don't hear any gunfire yet. And I'm like, where, thinking, logical question to ask one of the medics, where did he get shot? And the medic looks up and he says he didn't get shot, he fell. I'm like, you're kidding me. And sure enough, this young Ranger, grabbed the rope. He was sliding down from the helicopter. It's supposed to be 40 feet above the ground. And the helicopter keeled over a little bit and he lost control and boom, fell. Not 40 feet, but 60 feet. We were 20 feet higher than we thought. So 60 feet, this young guy fell and he's still alive. Absolute miracle. Without a doubt, miracle in combat, sitting there, and without thinking a second, turn to my radio operator, Jason Moore, and say, call it a medevac. And he's done it a million times in training. He does, and he hits the clicker and he says, Sergeant Eversmann, I got no comms. I can't transmit, I can only receive. Even though we just did our last radio check 3 minutes ago, and at takeoff, our radio's down. And this is where I realize, in the first 30 seconds of being in charge, we're in the wrong spot with a litter urgent casualty. I got no comms with the boss, and now I realize I'm standing in the middle of this four-way intersection. We're taking fire from the north and the west and the east. Just like that, 30 seconds, 25-meter fight. I mean, it's right there. It is absolutely the most unnerving, unsettling experience, at least at the moment, that I had in my entire career. And even with a couple of gunfights we'd had before, but this one was pronounced, 20 seconds. And I'm like, there are 4 problems I'm trying to solve as a young 26-year-old leader. And I'm realizing, we're on shaky ground here. Sergeant Eversmann is starting to feel a little put upon. And I don't know how long it was. It was probably only seconds, but it seemed like forever. I'm trying to wrestle with, what's the decision? What do I do? And I just, like that, I realized something caught my eye. I looked up and I'm like, we're gonna be good. And what I saw was my young sergeants, my team leaders, my 2 young E5s, Casey Joyce and Jim Telscher, they're 23 and 24-year-old, 22 and 23. And they are just bringing it to the enemy. I mean, they've got their fire teams and they are just, it's Operation Kitchen Sink. They are throwing everything, they've got every weapon system we have engaged on the bad guys, 3 directions, 25 meters, and I haven't told them to do one thing. They did that all just like that. And then I realized, all right, we got to do the medevac. That's what we do. So I tell Sergeant Joyce, come over. Comes running over through the gunfight. What do you need? I'm like, you're in charge of the aid and litter team, just like we rehearsed. Get Blackburn, get your team together, take them down to the company commander or the target, give them to the senior medic, let them know, our situation. Roger that. That's what he did, just roger that. And he put this kid on this litter and just take off. I mean, through a cartoonish hail of gunfire. Literally, I swear I'm not making any of this up. They're just through gunfire, off they go, just taking care of business. Get this guy going. And I realized, you can't order people to run in front of gunfire. I mean, you can. They say bad things about your parents and your bloodline and stuff. But, I realized, no, that was Message Garcia stuff. That was selfless service. I just told Sergeant Joyce what needed to be done, but this young man, put the needs of others first. Without a second thought, no questioning, no hesitation, no nothing, just this is the mission, this is my job, this is what I do, off we go, and save that young man's life. And you get to see that in this movie. Right, I get all the backstory, but you get to see that. That's what these men, and today these men and women that are out doing, just as we have in every battle we've ever fought any time in history. And so I give Bruckheimer, high marks. They show selfless service. And the second value that they show, I think, exceptionally well, is this one of courage. And 500 and change here today, everybody's got a different idea about what courage means. To me, it's doing your job when you're scared. And that's the best I can come up with. And, so what happens here, we go through this 18-hour gunfight, we had, took a lot of casualties, a lot wounded, And it was like a bad picture, a bad movie in slow motion, as combat sometimes is. It was just, how could things be as bad as they are, and yet they keep getting worse? And so we get through this, we get through the fight, we get everybody back to the airfield, we're sort of dusting ourselves off, figuring out the next mission. One of our soldiers is missing in action, Mike Durant. We got to get him back, and just like clockwork, Somalis shoot a mortar round. They couldn't put a mortar into the Indian Ocean on a good day in 3 months, and yet this day, right on time, right on target. A couple of mortar rounds come in, we have another killed, more wounded, helicopters damaged. I mean, it's just horror. Like, you can't even, well, you all can, but I say to the people not here today, can't even imagine that. And I remember the commander came in, after, we're all getting all our equipment squared away, make sure it's good, and the commander comes in and walks right up to my bunk and says, Sergeant Eversmann, get your squad ready. You're going to go out on foot and blow up this mortar position. We know where it is. We have, the recce birds or something saw it. And I'll tell you, folks, I was sitting on my cot, the commander was doing that, and all the boys were looking at me with that stare. We've all seen, that blank look, the bad news is coming, and I had to put my hands on my knees because they were I felt like they were going to shake. But what you got to kind of fake it and like, all right, we got to go do this thing. We're going to go do this mission. And I briefed the boys, and everybody said, Roger that. They got their gear on. We walked out to the wire, and everybody's ducks in a row, and as a platoon sergeant, I walk up to the head. I'm going to start, I'm going to count them all off, and then as the last guy goes through, I'll pick up in the rear, and off will go ducks in a row. And I'm walking up to the front and getting ready, literally, you couldn't have timed it any better. I'm getting ready to tap this kid on the shoulder, and somebody comes out of the operations center and says, hey, we're scrubbing the mission. We're gonna blow it, we'll send the Apaches or something. So now picture, I'm at what was gonna be the front, do a turnabout, and we're all gonna head back. And I remember I had this immediate feeling of relief. As a leader, nobody was going to get hurt. And I don't know if I would wrestle whether, that's the right answer or the wrong answer, but at the moment of that mission, that was the one I had. But I'm watching now these young 20-somethings, 18, 19, 21-year-old kids, and they're walking, and there's like a step and like a head scratch, and another step, and a Kevlar bouncing off the tarmac, and then another step, and you hear just the most profane language you've ever heard. And I'm realizing this isn't bravado. This isn't young guys trying to be tough ones. These are young men that are angry that they couldn't go out to do this mission. They couldn't go out to take down this mortar tube because somehow that was going to help us get Michael Durant back. And I realized that I was fortunate to serve with these incredibly courageous young men, just as today these courageous young men and women. And after we got back and sort ourselves out and sort of figure out what's what and who's who, the chaplain, the Night Stalker chaplain, our aviation unit chaplain, came over and he gave a little homily we all needed, after an event like that. And I'll never forget, I don't remember the words of the story other than he preached a little bit about Joshua, chapter 1, verses 1 through 15. And long story, not so long, folks, is that in that scripture, Joshua has been chosen to be Moses' successor. These are big shoes to fill for anybody, you might imagine. And Joshua says, I can't do it, Lord. I'm scared, I'm afraid, all the above that we mortals feel. And the Lord says to Joshua, be strong and be courageous, for I am with you. 5 times, be strong, be courageous, for I am with you. And I've always thought back, it's all right if I'm scared. As long as we're doing it together, we'll get through this firefight, we'll get through this mission, we'll get through whatever it is. Be strong, be courageous, for I am with you. And I realize in every experience I've had on the battlefield, that has absolutely rung true. Not only, theologically speaking, but secularly as well, with our team of teams and the men and women that we fight with. And you get to see in this movie these men, scared as we were, going out to fight this unrelenting enemy. And that's a testament to the courage and tenacity of these men and women who serve us today, just like all of you sitting here. So I give them high marks for that. They show selfless service and they show courage. And the last one that I think they show very well is this value called duty. And again, it's one of those you can say a lot about what it is, what duty really means. But I would just say fulfilling your obligation. And not just a legalistic term, but like doing what you say. Which is hard to do, hard for all of us on any given day. My word is my bond, and I got it. Life comes at you pretty fast. But in this sense, it's really the reason the movie was made, about duty. Because the story, Black Hawk Down, was because helicopter gets shot down, another helicopter comes in to take his place, he gets shot down, so we got 2 helicopters down in the city. All the forces are arrayed around the first crash site. The second one, we don't have anybody left to go there except for 3 Delta Force snipers, Gary Gordon, Randy Shugart, and Brad Hollings. They're flying in whatever that was, Super 6-9 or something. They're flying over, and they see it all happening. And they see the helicopter is in rubble, and they see the crowds are gathering, the mobs, savages. And, they're snipers. They're doing sniper stuff. And so they call the commander and they say, hey, put us in. And the commander says, no, we can't. We can't really, you do what you can from above. And so they keep going. They ask a second time, hey, put us in. And the commander says, no, we can't risk another helicopter. And finally, the third time, crowds are forming, like, let us in. And they say, yeah, okay, go. And so the helicopter makes its approach, takes fire, the door gunner gets shot. Brad Hollings pulls him out. Brad gets behind the minigun. He gets shot. He winds up losing his leg, but he's non-mission capable now. So it's down to Gary Gordon and Randy Shugart, these 2 Delta Force snipers. And they get in. They, as you watch in the movie, they land, fight their way up to the wreckage. Mike Durant, the pilot, is the last living member of the crew. Everybody else is dead or expectant. And he's got a broken back and broken leg. He's in bad shape. So they cannibalize all the weapons that they have and basically set up their perimeter, and they fight until they can't fight anymore, till they're overrun, overwhelmed. Nobody knows exactly what happened first. And, they gave their lives protecting, their Ranger buddy. Whether they knew or didn't know him, they protected their Ranger buddy. And for their actions that day, Gary Gordon and Randy Shugart both received the Congressional Medal of Honor, and very rightly so. They didn't know me, they was a knucklehead young Ranger, but I sure knew them. And to stand here today and tell you all just a little glimpse of their story, I just think, boy, heroic everything there. It's every value that young men and women we should all aspire to be. But for this story, I think it's duty. Nobody, they asked to do that. They wanted to fulfill this obligation, and never leave a fallen comrade. And they gave their lives for it. And, woulda, shoulda, coulda, we all might think, and all of us that were there, kind of, would you have done it or not? It's nonsensical. You can't ever, nobody would know. But I see those young guys, and it's time, 30-something, the young guys, they did it. They were dutiful. And when I think about duty, the greatest definition of duty I ever heard, and to this day, I can remember just yesterday, like it was yesterday, when we were redeploying. After Mike Durant was repatriated, all the wounded were flown out, we're packing up our stuff, we're leaving, policies at the White House level happen, and we have a memorial service to say goodbye to our fallen comrades, which are always very moving, as you all know. You've been to more than one, and with the boots and the weapon and the helmet and the dog tags and everything. And I remember it was a really sunny day, and here we are, Rangers, Delta Force, a couple of SEALs, and the 160th guys, and we're all gathered, and all the commanders come up and give the eulogies that commanders do during these events. And, they're all heartfelt, I got it. Some better than others, you all know, but, everybody speaks. And then the last guy to get up is the Joint Special Operations Command Commander, Bill Garrison, two-star general. He's in charge of JSOC. He's the grand poobah of it all. And he's great big, he's like 6'6". He's a tall dude from Texas. And he stands up behind the lectern, and he gave the entire Henry V battle at Agincourt speech, which I had never heard, honestly. I'd never heard, everyone's seen the we few, we happy few, we band of brothers line somewhere in, your sports teams or wherever. Everyone's always heard that, but I never knew the story. Had to ask some West Point guy. I'm only kidding, West Pointers. So got to get that in every once in a while. No, but I got to, I had to ask an officer, to explain to knucklehead, what it is about this Henry V. And, if you've heard the story before, you know it. If you haven't, it's worth 30 seconds. British are getting ready to fight the French at Agincourt, depending on where dialect we're from. And Henry, in my mind, goes out to do his recon of the battle with his executive officer, Westmoreland. Westmoreland's kind of this Casper Milquetoast fella, as I propose, and he's standing there and they see the massed French army, on the other side of the battlefield, and they're outnumbered, 12 to 1. I mean, it's like vastly overnumbered. And Henry says to Westmoreland, kind of, what do you think we ought to do? And Westmoreland says, we need to beat feet and get out of here, amscray, and get out while the getting's good, live and fight another day, all that kind of stuff. And Henry, in my mind, gives him the walk with me speech, son, which we've all probably had. And he gives the greatest line about duty. And he says, whoever does not have the stomach for this fight, let him depart. Give him money to speed his departure, since we wish not to die in that man's company. I mean, that's it. British go on to wipe the floors with the French. They kill a bunch, capture a bunch, and the rest run away. And you realize that was duty. My commitment to you. We're going to go out. We're going to face the challenges, face the odds. We're going to go do this thing. That's what Gary Gordon and Randy Shugart did. That's what you all have done. Give me another minute and I'll shut up and get out of here, folks. But, you think about an organization like this, and you think about what we're doing for our brothers and sisters, across the area here. And, that's selfless. That's courageous, standing up when nobody else is. And it's dutiful. It's the commitment we give to take care of our own. And so for all of you that put this together and all of you that are supporting, the luncheon and the organization, it is just an honor to be here with you today. And I thank you for letting me come. And I would just in closing tell you, Murphy rides with all of us every moment, every day. We're just a hair away from challenges that are going to be overwhelming. But if you find yourself, in that challenging spot, and you find yourself in a little predicament, I'd ask you to remember 3 short mottos. It's the mottos from Task Force Ranger. Free the oppressed. Be selfless. Night Stalkers don't quit. Be courageous. And Rangers lead the way. Be dutiful. God bless you all. God bless this country. Thank you for having me. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Matt Eversmann, folks. we can't let him go without an award. As much as he may not like this, it's our duty and responsibility to thank him for his powerful words today and for being with us today. So Matt, I'd like to present you with our Naperville Responds For Veterans Award for your service to our country in support of our United States Armed Forces and veterans. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much. Can I take that with me so I can mail it?
All right. A lot of tough acts to follow today, so we'll try to get through this here, folks. I want to just recognize a few of our sponsors that made today possible. We can't do it without your support. Our highest level sponsors, Mr. Jim Shannon. Thank you so much, Jim, for your continued support. Scientel Solutions, Nelson Santos is one of our board members, and he is one of the most steadfast supporters of veterans I've ever met in my life. Thank you, Nelson, for your continued support. And also the David R. Metcalf Invisible Wounds Foundation. Thank you, Jamie, and Frank and Shannon Finn, if you're here today as well. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing. We will continue to stand side by side with you in your mission. Lyle Savings Bank, Eric Wren, thank you very much. The entire Wren family has been longtime supporters of this organization. We appreciate your continued support. The Busy Butternut, thank you guys for purchasing so many veteran tables and helping us out with today's event. And then lastly, I want to recognize Radon Solutions and Becca Wiley, and she's going to be upset at me for doing this, but Becca has the relationship, her and her husband Scott, with Matt. They're the reason why we're able to get Matt to join us today. Becca does so much for this organization. I can't do it justice in a few seconds here, but she was the chairperson for this event, in addition to running her business and having children to take care of. Her husband Scott, who is a fellow helicopter pilot, is currently deployed. So we think about Scott every day. We pray for his safe return. Thank you, Becca, for everything. I mentioned another special announcement earlier today. Before we read our raffle tickets, so make sure you get your raffle tickets ready. You'll be able to pick those up at the registration table if you're a lucky winner. I want to introduce one of our local Marine veterans, Mr. Lou Breeze, and he's going to tell us a little bit about a special event on Memorial Day.
Keep the applause down, no, please. First of all, I'd like to thank the first sergeant. He brought me back 56 years ago, the night before we went over the side of our APA and onto the Mike Boatman amphibious landing in July. And then several weeks later, the night of my first firefight, brought back a lot of memories for a lot of people who are in this room, and I'm sure that they were touched by it. Second of all, at the beginning of World War II, a young lady reporter came up to then Chief of Staff, General George Marshall, and she said, "General, what are your plans for us to win World War II?" General looked at her. He said, "Ma'am, we have the best damn kids in the world. And I'm so happy that some of those damn kids could show up today as our World War II veterans." So again, a round of applause for them. Do we have anybody who served in Korea? Would you stand up, please? You guys talk about something that's been forgotten in the annals of time and history, or about those guys who served in the Chosin Reservoir in the winter of '51 and throughout the campaign from '50 to '53. So God bless you, gentlemen. Thank you for being here today. The main reason I'm here today is to tell you about a project that we started 4 years ago. In July of 2019, I had the distinct honor and pleasure of attending the 20th anniversary of the Medal of Honor Foundation. It was a dinner held in the city of Chicago. I met 21 different Medal of Honor recipients that night, and one of them was Herschel Woody Williams. Woody at that time was the only Marine from World War II that was alive and received his Medal of Honor for his actions on the island of Iwo Jima. And without going into it too much, but he took out 4 or 5 different enemy pillboxes alone. He had some people that were throwing some fire out for him, but for 5 times he came back and forth, filling his flamethrower and going back to the enemy positions and taking them out. He was a Marine Corps legend, and I was just in awe when I met him. We sat down and talked about his foundation, and his foundation had started to erect memorials to the families of his fallen brothers. It's not us who served. It's not anybody. The people that suffer the most are the mothers, the fathers, the wives, the sons, the daughters of the people who didn't come back. They don't feel it anymore. They're dead. I'm sorry to say they're dead. But the Gold Star Family Memorial, these people, the Gold Star families, have in their heart every day the sorrow of losing a loved one, and they have to live with that the rest of their lives. So, on May 27th, which is a Saturday, the Saturday before Memorial Day, we are going to dedicate our memorial. We based it through the Woody Williams Medal of Honor Foundation, and also through Brad Babowski and the Century Walk Corporation. Brad has been instrumental in putting together this. I didn't know how to start making a monument, and he held my hand each and every step of the way. We have people such like Dan. He was our first contributor. The city of Naperville, the Naperville Park District, the Masonic Lodge here in town, the Naperville, the Legion Riders, out selling T-shirts. I mean, these people work their rear ends off for us to get the money to show our undying appreciation for the people who lost their son, their daughter, their mother, their father, brother or sister here in Naperville, and throughout the communities that surround us. This is the first monument in the state of Illinois, and we're very, very pleased that Naperville was worked very hard to get the money and get ourselves in position so we could do that. If you can today, I'm going to have a couple of things over here on our table number 1. I've got a small pin with the monument on it if you'd like to make a donation. And if you'd like to make a big donation, I have a beautiful challenge coin, which are very few of these around. So if you can, please stop by, throw a couple of bucks in the jar, and we'll take care of you. Please be there on May 25th. It's at Veterans Park. The band starts at 1:45 and the program starts at 2. We have a flyover. We have Al Lynch, who's Medal of Honor recipient, is going to be there giving us, starting the Pledge of Allegiance. We've got the Naperville Municipal Band, the Naperville Men's Glee Club. We've got the Fire Department, Bagpipe Corps. It's going to be a spectacle, all in the honor of those who suffer every day, the unintentional victims of war. Every man and woman who's ever served, who's sitting in this room right now, it could have been you, and it could have been your parents. So please, come, and if you got some money, come on over here. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. So please mark your calendar for May 27th. Love to see you guys out there. If I can welcome the chorus of DuPage back up to help take us out with God Bless America. I'm going to pull a few tickets. This is the moment that...
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. My home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean white with foam.